So Michael Moore said something controversial on the anniversary of 9/11 or around 9/11. He said that in the end, bin Laden won. Let's see him dive into more specifics about this claim. Take a look.
Might have seen your quote saying that in the end, Osama bin Laden won. What did you mean by it?
I mean that their attack on 9/11 on this country, I don't know how they could have guessed that we would stay in this war for 20 years, that we would spend $300 million a day, 20 years. Was he some sort of mad genius, Osama bin Laden, that he figured out that we would take away our own democratic rights, our constitutional rights, the Patriot Act, create a surveillance state where there's a camera on every other corner in this country spying on each other, that we did not. We spent all of our time focused on the war on terror and the money on this that could have been used on our own people. We're not better off 20 years later. We've created a sort of a self-destruction. Now we are at war with ourselves. We have this incredible division that has turned violent. I mean, he must be smiling from his grave wherever it is, because what they couldn't do to us, we decided to do to ourselves. And when George Bush used to brag about or say that, we need to fight him, fight him over there so we don't have to fight him here. And what actually ended up happening was, we went over there to fight them, but bin Laden, they couldn't ever have attacked us or invaded our country and taken us over. In order to kill us, they had to sucker us into coming over there and putting our young men and women, our troops, on the sacrificial altar, and at the same time allow our country to become what it's become in these 20 years. It's so sad, and and so I said, in a sense, he may have lost the battle, he may have lost his life, Al-Qaeda broken up, but in the end, in a strange, sad sort of way, he won, because we've allowed this to happen to ourselves. And shame on us for that. I hope the lesson of this is that we never get ourselves into war again like this. And Brian, 20 years ago, I was saying pretty much alone. Most liberals were all behind the war. Bush had a 70% approval rating. It was myself, it was Congresswoman Barbara Lee from Oakland, California, who said, no, do not. We are not to go to Afghanistan. We are not to invade that country. This will be a quagmire. And we were pretty much shot down by our fellow Americans that did not want to hear anything like this. And are we safer? The real homeland security should be about how we take care of each other and how we spend our money for each other, and not on a war that may have seemed right to some people at the time. Let's go get him. I mean, he is a mass murderer, Osama bin Laden. But by the time we really organized ourselves to do that in October and November, he had pretty much skedaddled. He was gone. He was out of the country, and we didn't stay. He left, and we stayed for 20 years.
So those are interesting comments. I think he's in certain ways he's right. But in other ways, I think he misses some important nuance. So what really was the goal of bin Laden? I mean, his grandest ambitions, it would be global jihad. Global jihad. So think of a world where you have Al-Qaeda is the world's sole superpower. And everybody around the world is living under Sharia. And all Americans are either killed or converted. I honestly think that's the real idea behind global jihad to a true believer. Now, oftentimes you're dealing with people who aren't necessarily true believers, and they claim to be true believers, but for the real hardcore fundamentalist, drank the Kool-Aid, I'm all in, the ISIS fighters, many in Al-Qaeda, Yeah, that's what they wanted. Global jihad, all Americans killed or converted, the world killed or converted. We're the superpower now. We're in charge. So on that front, of course he didn't win. Not even close to winning. And that's obvious. That's clear. If anything, the Taliban is way closer than Al-Qaeda ever got. ISIS got closer. Now they've been more or less defeated, but ISIS got closer than Al-Qaeda ever got. So in one sense, no, he didn't get anywhere near to the ultimate goal that he wanted. However, if you lower the bar quite a bit, you lower it significantly and say, well, one of his goals, and I think he even voiced this at times, one of his goals is to bait the U.S. into destroying itself. Yeah, there's a case to be made there. Because if you claim that in the same way that he wants to base a system of governance on the Quran, if the idea is the Constitution is this almost sacred document to the U.S., and he wants to destroy our way of life, well, yeah, absolutely. That Constitution was ripped up, spit at, pissed on, and shit on, especially over the course of the War on Terror. Now, before it was no cakewalk either, but really ramped up in the War on Terror, because no more due process, no more habeas corpus, no more protection from unreasonable search and seizure with the NSA spying on everybody illegally. No more protection from cruel and unusual punishment, the way that we treat people, and, the way we had Guantanamo Bay and Abu Ghraib and doing torture and illegal wars. And so American values as they are on paper, we never really lived up to them. We can't say we're a country that cares about equality when we're founded on slavery and Native American genocide. We never really lived up to them, but boy, oh boy, did we make it even worse than it was before with the War on Terror and with that era. Because we didn't even have the nominal argument anymore of we care about freedom, we care about democracy, we care about human rights, and that's what we do around the world when we are violating every single human right known to man. And that's what we're doing. That's the whole point of the neocons. That's the whole point of Dick Cheney and George W. Bush. That was their whole existence, was that. Under the guise of we have to protect Americans, it's rip up our way of life 1,000 different ways. So the argument is you bait the U.S. into destroying itself, both in terms of values, but also in terms of the empire. Yeah, $300 million a day in Afghanistan is insane. There's a new report that just came out from Brown University. I was just looking at it over the last hour. They say in total, $14 trillion was wasted in the War on Terror. And now, I've read previously 7, so half that. But whether it's 7 or 14, for the love of God, I wince at the thought of what could that have gone to here? Roads, bridges, the number one infrastructure in the world, jobs program, healthcare for everybody, education, including higher education for everybody. Think of everything it could have gone to. So yeah, we destroyed ourselves in terms of the country itself, and we destroyed whatever values we had to the extent we ever lived up to them, which we didn't, but we made it even worse. So, I mean, he's not wrong. He's not wrong. I think he overstates the case because he doesn't even talk about, ultimately, he probably wanted global jihad and all people killed or converted. That's their real pipe dream. So he didn't talk about that, and he's wrong not to talk about that, but that the lower bars, yeah, bin Laden did sort of get what he wanted. So there you have it. It's a sad, sad reality, but no more offensive wars, man. No more illegal and offensive wars. We only need to do wars for self-defense, imminent self-defense. If you said after 9/11, we're going to do the most targeted program of all time, and we'll have SEAL Team 6 put a bullet in Osama bin Laden's forehead, and you go through Congress, get the Declaration of War to do exactly that, you would have gotten approval for that. But that's not what they did. They did it over 20-year occupation of Iraq, 20-year occupation of Afghanistan. Well, it couldn't have been 20 years for Iraq because that would be 2023 by the time it's 20 years. But we'll get there. So multiple decade illegal occupation, exploitation, imperialism, endless war profiteering, everything you can imagine, war crimes. Couldn't have gone any worse, that's for damn sure.